Hello everybody, welcome to the Bronies UK channel with a special feature, as you can no doubt see. We've got myself, Sam and Nosy, both co-hosts, both together, thanks to the magic of webcams, and we are going to be doing a special Bronies UK video for you all.
Yeah, this is interesting. Also, just a quick thingy, just to, if the quality's not too great, we are kind of working out things to do videos like this in the future, possibly. We're doing this. We're doing this today just to try it out. But anyway. So what are we talking about today then?
Today we're talking about an article which I came across this morning, talking about MLP's future, specifically talking about the upcoming film this year, and also briefly touching on possible merchandise that's coming out in the next 2 years for MLP. So, I'm going to bring up the article. I have no idea if anybody watching this video will be able to physically read the article, because I don't think it's going to be in particularly great quality when it comes up on the screen, but I will read it. Nosy, you might be able to see it, you might not, but either way I will read it and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah,
So,
teething problems is just how it works.
yeah, because we've never actually done something like this before. So this is from a website called Kidscreen. Obviously, as you could probably imagine, it's just all about kid-related programs on television and films and whatnot. And this article, entitled "My Little Pony Rides High with New CP," this was published January 29th, so literally 2 days ago. So obviously CP, obviously they're talking about commercial properties. So this was written by Elizabeth Foster, so I'm just going to read this for you all, then we'll discuss. So, the Friendship is Magic series may be riding off into the sunset, but My Little Pony is settling up for a new era with Entertainment One. Hasbro has big plans for the franchise, including consumer products tied to the upcoming feature film and a new animated series, My Little Pony: Pony Life. Following Hasbro's December 29th acquisition of Entertainment One, the toy maker appointed E1 as its global entertainment arm just in time to help launch Pony Life, the 2D cartoon series in late 2020, which, as we know, has appeared on platforms such as Disney+, Cartoon Network and YouTube. So the upcoming CGI animated movie is slated for September 2021, so the release date hasn't changed, it's still the same, and will mark the start of the brand's transformation, now under the pure view of E1. Not only will the new pony characters be featuring in the film, they will also boast a new CG look. The introduction of new characters and a departure from designs featured in Friendship is Magic and Pony Life is intended to shift the brand's focus to more modern themes like diversity and inclusion. Oh god, I hate it when that comes up in an article about a show. The final season, Friendship and Magic, brought the storytelling to a satisfying conclusion, and it felt like the right time to close the chapter of pony history. That's something we will definitely have to discuss. Emily Thompson, VP of Global Brand Management for E1, stated, "Generation Alpha has a higher emotional intelligence and they expect a lot more for their entertainment. We know it's important to Gen Alpha that they see their peer groups represented in their entertainment, and that shaped how we built our core cast." Again, I feel like that's something we need to discuss. The movie's main character, for example, is an activist working to make the pony world a better place. My Little Pony will be one of Hasbro's biggest incentives in 2021. Upcoming toys will be informed by the feature's updated animation style, and in addition to launching classic offerings like toys and appeal, Hasbro will focus its consumer products program on categories that saw significant growth in recent months, including food, health, wellness, puzzles, games, publishing, personal care, home goods. The first SKUs are set to hit the shelves at major retailers around August. so about a month before the film comes out. Consumer behaviours have changed due to COVID, and we're talking a lot of categories that have been spiking in terms of sales. The strategy of focusing on trends while still paying tribute to the classics also appeals to E1's upcoming approach to the content. Quote, with the movie, we started development and made a decision to expand the world of My Little Pony rather than starting from scratch with a total brand reinvention. We found ourselves with the whole decade of storytelling and really rich lore, and it will be wrong to walk away from that. Friendship is Magic premiered 2010 and ran for 9 seasons. The series inspired a kid-hosted online after show as well as a live stage show. Instead of abandoning the franchise's characters and stories, the movie will take place in the same world featured in Friendship is Magic and Pony Life, but jump ahead in time to focus on a new generation of ponies and unexplored corners of Equestria. This creates opportunities to include nods to the property's previous iterations, both in upcoming content and consumer product offerings. Quotation, if you're brand new to the franchise, I think it will grab you and pull you in. And existing fans are going to be picking out Easter eggs for months and years to come. Right, so that's the article. I have a few things I feel like I want to say about it. Nolsey, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of interesting. From what I can gather, obviously, with the whole, what I can gather is they want to try and keep the spirit to some degree of Gen 4, and if that is the case, then I'm actually quite happy about that, because, I mean, end of the day, they stumbled upon a phenomenon, before the whole fan base thing kind of exploded, Hasbro didn't really know what kind of a good thing they had at one point.
Yeah.
In 2010. When it first aired in 2010, we just didn't know. They just didn't know. And then obviously, I believe it was end of season 2, early season 3, all of a sudden it just escalated and caused it to do 9 seasons, because originally it was going to end on season 3. So I like that they're going to keep with hopefully the tone and, like you said, about Easter eggs in there, which is good. So is that kind of saying then, if there's going to be Easter eggs, is it going to still be kind of roughly set in the same environment of Gen 4, but just following new characters?
Well, as it stated, there obviously is still set within Equestria, but there's going to be a time jump. So whether or not that means it's going to be 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, obviously we don't know. Easter egg wise, it would be interesting to see, for example, I don't know, some references to the main 6 from FIM, references to the things that they did, references to maybe like other episodes. Obviously, I think we'd have to have mention of obviously Twilight, but after she becomes sort of let's say it as it is. There has to be references to Twilight after she becomes the sole leader of Equestria, because obviously Celestia and Luna sort of retire and leave her in charge, with Cadence still in charge of the Crystal Kingdom. So I'd be interested to see references to events that happened after that, specifically what happened after Twilight took over and you had the Council of Friendship, anything that might happen involving Flurry Heart, as she was a natural born Alicorn. So I think there's definite potential to talk about things that happened after the series ended.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it's going to be interesting, because like I was mentioning earlier when I was speaking with you earlier on, when I mentioned about the animatic that's gone up on YouTube, and nobody seems to really know who it's by. If it's somebody who works for Boulder Media, which are the people that that kind of took on Gen 4 at the latter end, like the what was it, the Rainbow Friendship film?
Yeah.
Or it is what it's called. They did that, which was bottled and bottled and bottled media, and then they also produced I think some of the web series for Equestrian Girls as well. So nobody seems to know where the source of where this has come from. And basically, a lot of people in the Brony fandom have been talking about it. Dr. Wolf is one of them.
Aye.
Man. And basically, the animatic, all I can say is, from memory, is it followed there was just two ponies, an old male and a small female pony. And it's almost as if this sequence is a musical number, and it's kind of like you see in like a dome type thing, or like a pedestal, little figurines of the main six, and from each one thing. And so this guy's almost, there's no text or dialogue or anything like speech bubbles or anything, it's just purely animatic. And basically it's almost as if it's kind of like, it is like you said about the time jump.
Right.
So it's making me wonder as if maybe this is, sadly, maybe when they are no longer about and they have become like a legend, or they have become like, basically like a legend of Equestria. And in a way, is Gen 5, sorry, or whatever's coming next, is it going to serve as some sort of, in a way, kind of like what happens next in like the next generation or the next century? Because the whole time gap thing could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 5 years.
No. Do you remember what it was called?
Sorry?
You remember what it was called?
No, I can't actually. It's I think if you just search maybe Gen 5 or MLP animatic or whatever, it might come up with that. Or if you search Dr. Wolf, because Dr. Wolf covered it about a week ago. I've been meaning to do a video about that, guys, by the way, anyone watching this. I apologise. Someone actually commented on one of my latest videos saying about covering a video talking about the animatic. So anyway, this is kind of covering the animatic in the video, so I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'll have a look at that. I've found it. Yeah, I'll have a look at that later.
So basically, there's no text or dialogue, it's literally just plain animatic, and it's just interesting that nobody seems to really know who put this on the net, whether it's some sort of a story or a song that wasn't used for Gen 4, or it's maybe something in part of the movie, the new movie coming out this year, or it's something that they're maybe testing or working on, or something that just has been like a deleted animatic, you know. And someone was quite pleased with that animatic for it on the net. So people think it could be someone from Boulder Media, because Boulder Media are now the people that are working on the animation side of, I believe it's the animation side of MLP now. Because originally it was, I think, Allspark, whatever. That was with Hasbro. So apparently it's from the Bold Media now. So there was like that kind of a thought process that was going through people's minds that I've seen that. So it's kind of interesting with that article saying things about the time jump, and that animatic has been on the web now, on YouTube now for about a week or two.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's something else about the article. I mean, there's two things I sort of want to point out, because there's two things about this article that sort of make me a little bit worried. There's like two things I want to address, because it just made me a little bit worried. I tend to get a little bit worried these days when I read something like this in an article, whether if it's about a TV show or a film. That's how two things that I noticed. Let's see if I just reread this, see if I can find it. Right, so the first thing I noticed that gets me a little bit worried is when it states the following: the introduction of new characters and a departure from designs featured in Friendship and Magic and Pony Life is intended to shift the brand's focus to more modern themes like diversity and inclusion. Now, there's one thing I always get a bit jittery over. Whenever somebody talks about modern themes, diversity, inclusion, to me that's usually a red flag, because diversity, inclusion, they're all in Friendship is Magic. Why do you think it's called Friendship is Magic? You know, it's a series that is very diverse and very inclusive. When somebody talks about bringing it into the modern age and making it diversive, to me, that just gets me a bit worried. I mean, I don't think it would happen, but I can't help but think to myself, what if they're going to end up, you know, throwing in like gender politics into this new My Little Pony franchise? I mean, I don't think they would, but it just concerns me when I hear the words diversity being thrown around in modern times quotation. I mean, you don't need to really change anything specific in the next gen for MLP, because you have what you already need. And then the other thing that I feel like I want to address is how the article mentions as well the following. So the final season of Friendship is Magic brought storytelling to a satisfying conclusion, and it felt like the right time to close a chapter of Pony history. And then it goes on to state, Generation Alpha has a higher emotional intelligence and they expect a lot more from their entertainment. We know it's important for Generation Alpha that they see their peer groups represented in their entertainment, and that shapes how we built our core cast. Now, here's something to talk about. Generation Alpha is anybody basically born within sort of the last 10 years. So sort of between 2010 and 2020. Now, here's the thing. Putting things like emotional intelligence aside, because that's a really big factor, and we could be sat here all night if we talked about emotional intelligence. What I want to instead talk about are two things. Now, obviously, Generation Alpha, anybody born in the last 10 years, potentially has probably grown up watching MLP Friendship is Magic. There's no doubt about that. However, I think this article fails to realise that probably 75-80% of the MLP fan base are largely millennials. So anybody born, I think millennials are born between something like, was it 1985 to 2005, something like that. So basically anybody sort of our age or say 5-6 years older has grown up, either became fans when watching the original MLP in the mid to late 80s, or became fans in the late 90s, or became fans when Friendship is Magic aired. So in a lot of ways, Friendship is Magic's success a lot of it is down to the Brony fanbase, as we know. One of the things worth mentioning is that Season 3 was originally going to be the final season. And the reason it wasn't was because the Brony fanbase was sort of noticed, and I think Hasbro sort of realised how big this fanbase was becoming. Now, I understand that yes, every season of something does represent to an extent the generation that will grow up watching it. But I think it's important that this new generation of MLP also takes into account the Brony fan base that grew up through Friendship is Magic. Now, yes, not all of this fan base were, say, 8 years old when it started. For example, when I first started watching MLP, Friendship is Magic, I would have been about 23, I believe, when I first started watching it. So I think that when this new series, they need to make sure that they at least sort of make it, I can't say appeal to older fans, but make it so that the fans who sort of watched film fiction and it embraced it and became part of the fan base and, you know, became artists, storytellers, you know, musicians, all because of Friendship is Magic. These people need to be remembered, and I think Gen 5 needs to reflect that in some shape or form.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It does need to. You know, I understand. I mean, like you said, Friendship is Magic was kind of. In some, I wouldn't say it was completely perfect, but it did try to be diverse. And obviously, in the latter seasons, it brought in that the Scootaloo's Guardians.
Yeah, and then later on, you finally got to see her parents.
Yeah, and then later on saw her parents, but then it brought in that whole thing of diversity, you know.
Yeah, because I know, like officially in the series, there's no like, I know there's no official mention of it, even though I know the writers have basically said that Scootaloo's aunts are a gay couple, and they are, you know, obviously a representation of that. I mean, there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no reference to that in the episode that they show up in.
I think it's more referenced in the comics.
Yeah, I mean, I realise I've not really read much of the comics, so I don't know too much about them.
Apparently the comics does go into things a lot more closely, certain areas that the series doesn't. I definitely need to check out the comics. But apparently the reason why they came into the series was because the fans noticed them and was kind of like a bit of I can't remember what issues there was in or whatever, but apparently there was a parent in the story, Scootaloo's Guardians, and it was kind of as if, like, I think fans maybe or what have you, kind of wanted to see it brought to the animated show. So I think that's how it ended up being doing it. I think the team behind it that made the series were kind of wanting to do it, and then obviously the fan want for it, so that's why they ended up doing that. And obviously finally brought in Scootaloo's parents as well, because plus Scootaloo, she was like right from season 1 right through to then.
Yeah.
Not any parent.
Yeah.
So okay. But no, it's kind of I want. The thing is, I'm open to a little bit of change, a little bit of difference with Gen 5, like a bit of originality. But at the same time, I would like it if they are truthful to their word, and if that article is truthful, because this is a different website altogether. It's not like being reported by Equestrian Daily, so we've got to be careful with that.
True.
Because Equestrian
Daily... Equestrian Daily did report on it.
Oh,
that's where I found the article, mate.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. If they're reporting on it, then okay. But yeah, so if I'm hoping that, as you said, I'm hoping they do try and keep what made Gen 4 so special. Try and emulate that in some way in Gen 5. But at the same time, I would like a bit of originality to it, because it would be a bit boring if it was just the exact same, kind of like a copy of Gen 4. Because some people might disagree with me here. Some people might want Gen 5 to be Gen 4 again, or did they want it to be that? Okay, fine. But for me personally, we've had those characters. I love Rainbow Dash, and I would love Rainbow Dash to carry on for like centuries to come, because she's 20% cooler than every other pony. Trying to put that out. But I would love to see those characters, main six. I'd love to see them forevermore, because they are such staple characters. They brought together generations of people from original Gen 1 right up through to now, people of all ages. And it really brought people together, Gen 4. It really helped to connect people. And Hasbro understand that, but at the same time, they're all about selling toys.
Yeah.
And making money.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So you've got to be very careful. But like I say, at the end of the day, My Little Pony is more or less in at little kid.
Aye.
So, we annoy people when you say that, but it is. But earlier on, there was something that I read that I want to try in Gen 5 or whatever it's going to be called. Earlier on, when they announced it at New York Toy Fair about the new movie, that the movie's going to be piggybacking onto the new Gen 5. Hopefully, they wanted it to be. They want to try and target a bit more of an older audience, as in kind of as Gen 4 kind of seemed to be very, I don't know, it seemed to kind of capture the imaginations of people in the 20s and older.
Aye.
But they want to kind of like focus this not on. Gen 4 was originally focused at around about maybe 5 to 8 range, possibly 10 max. So they wanted to kind of, I don't know if this is true, but I know that it was mentioned in an article I read, that they wanted to kind of maybe be around about like early teens, maybe around about 11 to 12 year olds, maybe 13, around about that ballpark. So they want to kind of try and capture and maybe put it towards more the fan base, like the Brony fan base, Pegasus. They want to try and capture that fan base, bring them back. But at the same time, you can't alienate the little kids, because My Little Pony is a child's toy line. So
yeah, that's true.
So they're going to have to try and capture some essence of Gen 4. But at the same time, I would definitely be up for new characters. Completely new characters. So not like Rainbow Dash 2.0 or 5.0 by now. Because obviously Rainbow Dash was a Gen 1 pony at one point. Same with Twilight and a few others.
Well, they all were, weren't they? Like all of them were based off original designs.
Yeah, there was all in there. But it'd be cool. It'd be cool to see some maybe original characters, never before seen ponies, like brand new off someone's head. But maybe bring back some interesting names that maybe was in the original series that maybe haven't come into Gen 4 yet, or wasn't in Gen 4, like other names that they could come up with. Like rejuvenate the roots.
Aye.
Because I think it was Dr. Wolf again. I could be wrong with this, but I was watching a video. It could have been Dr. Wolf, and it saying about what was it? Like wanting to kind of oh my god, what was it? There was it was something he was talking about. Yeah, it was Dr. Wolf. Yeah, just remember. And it was something he was talking about the Gen 5. And it seems that they want to kind of maybe, it looks like they maybe want to bring, actually it was the video about the animatic that I mentioned, about maybe some names, and there was like some stuff in the animatic that was kind of like a bit of a thingy to like Gen 1, some like original ponies and Pegasi or whatever. So it will be interesting to see whether they whether they capture the essence of like Gen 1 and other generations as well as Gen 4. But it'd be interesting to see how they're going to arrange.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, speaking of, diversity and equality, I mean, MLP, even before they introduced Scoots Ants, they already technically had 2 gay characters in the series, which is Lyra and Bon Bon.
Yeah.
The thing is, they're purely background ponies, but they are in every episode of all 9 seasons. And in the final, I think it's the second to last episode of season 9, if I remember this right. If you look real carefully in about the background of Ponyville, you actually see, I can't remember which one it is, but you see one of them basically sort of getting down and presenting the ring to the other. And then the final episode, which is obviously set about 30 or so years later, you see like 2 oldish, like, probably maybe in the sort of 50s, Lyra, Bon Bon, walking down the street together. So obviously those characters were obviously there. They were just discreetly doing the background, because I think part of the charm of MLP is the background ponies, because almost every single background pony has a name and has a story, and at some point has even had fanfic wrote about them. So they're all part of the community. They're all there. Then you've even got the odd background pony, which is an actual original creation by a fan that's been put into an episode.
Yeah. And then obviously there's a whole thing with muffins as well. That what was it? Was it Hasbro called the muffins? But then
Derpy. Derpy, yeah.
I can't get mixed up because
she was originally called Derpy Hooves, and then for some reason either Hasbro made the change because they were worried they might offend people with a disability, so they changed her name to Muffins, because obviously she likes muffins. But to the fan, she will always be Derpy, because that's her name. That's who she is. Yeah, but she's just referred to as Muffins now.
Yeah, so it's kind of I mean, I really enjoy the background story. I mean, that's the thing that's what makes Gen 4 Friendship Magic so special, is that obviously the focus point is the main six, obviously, but it's kind of interesting to see, like when they did, was it the 100th episode special?
Yeah, they did. Basically, it was all the background characters, wasn't it?
Yeah. So basically, I think that was probably one of my favourite episodes.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
Because it's kind of like really focuses on little stories of all the different background characters. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the future brings, because obviously, as I said, Hasbro are all about making money, producing toys. So it's kind of, will they live by their word? Will they try to emulate or not emulate, but try to bring what made Gen 4 so special?
Yeah. Like, could they? I mean, to me, what makes Gen 4 so special to me, I think, is 3 things. I think, firstly, the animation, secondly, the songs and music, and thirdly, the characters. And I think in order to really get Gen 5 as good as Gen 4, I appreciate it's going to be CGI animation, so it's going to look very different. Well, but putting that to one side, I would need to see a good amount of music and songs along with really interesting characters and personalities.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with you saying, I think the movie itself could be CGI.
Right.
Obviously looking like it. But I don't know if they might be maybe taking some sort of a Disney idea from it, maybe, because if you look at like Big Hero 6, for example, I know I'm going completely off topic,
yeah.
But I'm just using that as a reference
Yeah.
point. So for Big Hero 6, CGI, Pixar looking movie, right? And then obviously they then did a cartoon series that was actually kind of like a sequel to the movie. It was a continuation, but in cartoon form, and that was 2D animation, like for digital animation. So it wasn't CGI; it was like hand-drawn digital animation. So I'm wondering if maybe the future of Gen 5 is that, yes, okay, it's going to be a feature-length, big screen movie. That's what they're trying to focus on, and it's going to be a worldwide release.
Aye.
So it's going to be a big movie for Hasbro, so they want it in the big screen. So of course, a lot of people will be familiar with the whole CG animation anyway. So they're probably going with the idea of a CGI umbrella for the movie because it'll probably get more bums on seats in the cinema. And then possibly if with this maybe the series that may follow that this is going to bridge the gap off, the movie's going to bridge the gap off, which we think is going to be the case. If I'm thinking that it's going to be it might be too pricey to produce, say, a 15, 20, 25 episode series.
Yeah.
CGI. It's going to be way too pricey.
True.
So
I mean, technically they could do. You could still do sort of like CGI, but still make it look like traditional animation. There are classic examples of films that have such things. I mean, for example, going a little bit off topic here, but one of my all-time favourite films is Spirit, and this film is a combination of basically traditional animation and CGI, but it's all blended together, so it looks like it's basically traditional animation, but it's not. It's what's referred to as tradigital, which is a mix of hand-drawn and CGI animation. But it all looks like traditional animation, so it's potentially possible Gen 5 series might be a mix of that.
Yeah, I mean, tradigital makes more sense because almost everything's tradigital. Almost everything cartoon based that going on the TV is primarily digital based. Even animation from Japan, it has elements. It's all like digitally hand drawn because obviously they don't really use. They kind of draw it on a big tablet now. Or on a computer, they use that now instead of paper. Obviously, paper's gone out now, so they use these digital tablets. So obviously, it's digitally drawn, but as you said, like traditionally, but they're not. Yeah, I think that's probably what they're going to do. It makes a bit more sense at the same time because it could be a bit cheaper than going full-blown CGI. It depends as well how many episodes they've ordered as well. When it comes to ordering how many episodes for their season, because if we go by Gen 4, except for season 3, which I think was about 15 episodes, I believe. All the others were about 25, 26 episodes. So if they want to kind of continue that with Gen 5 with having that kind of an episode thing where it's going to be about 25, 26 episodes for a season, if it does get carried on for a season, past season 1, if they want to go with that, CGI, even though Hasbro are very wealthy, CGI for that prolonged amount of time is going to be very, very expensive. It's going to be really expensive. So it makes more sense going down, as you said, the traditional route where they can still make it look CGI-like, but it's a cheaper method than going full blown.
Aye.
it's making me wonder, because that's what Disney are doing at the moment, is they did it with Tangled, they did a full-blown, beautifully, like, a bit like Frozen, beautifully animated CGI movie that came out in cinemas, and then they did a follow-on cartoon episode next season that was for digital. It was like hand-drawn with blended CGI. And then obviously they did that with Big Hero 6 as well. So I'm wondering if they're going to kind of emulate Disney's kind of approach with the movie. So the feature-length movie coming out this year is going to be CGI and then through digital mixture for the series. That might make more sense to me. Because the reason why I say that is that there was Dr. Wolf mentioned this again as well. I mentioned this in a video of my own as well. There was I forgot on the usernames first went by, but they got a fan artist that is well known in the fan base.
Yeah, he's been selected, hasn't he, to working on the show?
Yeah, she was invited to work in the animation part with the other animators for the movie, and her animation style is hand drawn, but she's really talented at making it look hyper realistic.
Yeah.
So it's hand drawn, digitally hand drawn, but it's kind of, they look 3DS. So it's makes me wonder is that the approach they want to try and emulate or go by with the series, or whatnot? I don't know, or the movie itself, because obviously she was invited onto the movie side. So it's going to be interesting of how they approach it, because her animation style, she was known for making really hyper-realistic art with ponies. So it's going to be interesting of how it's going to be. I mean, hopefully it'll release this year.
Well, it hasn't changed. It's still set for September this year. The release date hasn't changed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I covered the whole release date and everything. I mean, I got September. That's on Google, September, but I also got an October. So there's a possibility that if it doesn't quite September, it could be pushed back at least to October. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the future brings. I mean, that article you bring up is super. I know where you're coming from as well, when it says like, kind of bring it to the day with tech and values, quality and things. I mean, I don't think it's a problem per se, but with me personally, I don't like it when they change an established character.
Yeah.
Be something different. Say like Twilight, for instance. Twilight, we assume, I think she's a straight pony, and then she's like meh, or cult, whatever they are. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get my point. But then if they went with Gen 5 and made her all of a sudden she's a lesbian or she's bi, it's kind of, what's the point of doing that? Because she's already an established character. I don't like it when they tarnish a character that's already established. However, if it was an original character, a brand new character, I don't have much of a problem with that, because it's a new character, that's their identity, that's who they are. Fantastic, brilliant. So I'm happy with that, but I just don't like it when they take an established character that's been known for Gen 1 and just change who they are. Yeah,
I get where you're coming from. I mean, ironically, one of the things that's always been floating around in regards to characters and their sexuality is Rainbow Dash, because there has always sort of been this lingering belief within the fan base, shall we say, that because Rainbow Dash has a rainbow coloured mane and tail, and her name being Rainbow Dash, a lot of people for a time were convinced that Rainbow Dash was basically a gay character and was meant to be representing the LBGTQ community. I know Hasbro, however, confirmed that was never the case. That was just what her design was. It wasn't in representation of anything. The thing is, when it comes to character representation, there's nothing wrong with representation at all, as long as I suppose you do it right, because the worst way to do character representation for anything is to have the character be nothing but a shell, and all the character is basically somebody basically waving the flag and going, look, this character's gay. Isn't that incredible? We're being inclusive and diversive. Did we mention this character's gay? Then nobody cares, because the character is empty and has no progression. They're just a virtue signal. But if you have a character who has a great story, a great background, and yeah, fair enough, that character's gay, straight, bisexual, whatever, but they have a great character development and a story arc, people will like the character and hence like the show. You have to make it more about, a show only lasts if it has good characters and good storytelling. That's the most important thing.
It is, that's exactly right. I mean, for me, I apologise for anyone who's offended by what I say here, but for me, sexuality does not define who you are.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it might be a major contribution to who you are, an important part of your overall identity,
Yeah.
but no, it doesn't form... How can I put this? It doesn't form the building blocks of you. It's a part of those building blocks, but it's one of those blocks in a large pile of building blocks. You know, your everyday life is not necessarily represented by your sexuality or even your gender. The things that you eat, the things that you do, the people that you hang out with, the films that you like, the games that you play, all that is part of your own identity. So identity is much bigger than just gender and sexuality. We're going a bit on topic here, but you know.
But like I'm saying, like I said, when I've said that, like it, you know, sexuality doesn't, you know, it's not. Well, basically, trying to piggyback on what you said, it's that if a character's gay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't define the character. So make that character be whoever they want to be. Yeah, a strong character who's trying to find themselves, better themselves, whatever that character is. But then maybe stick with one, don't even want one, and just have like a little thingy there to say, you don't need to overdo it, you don't need to be stupid, you know, like over elaborate it.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
You don't want to be waving the flag, basically.
Exactly.
If all a character has is waving the virtue flag, if you will, then the character doesn't have a background. You know, you need to have a background for a character to be.
You need to have a stable foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to establish who that character is first and foremost, and then as the series progresses, little tidbits come out here and there, and then maybe in conversation, innocent between friends, it comes out, because that's more that's making more sense. That some, you know, if you know, if they're a group of, if they're going to go by the whole idea of a group of friends again for Gen 5, it makes sense of a character. Maybe not at first, maybe a little bit urgently, not sure of whether to come out like that, and then probably as it goes on, just kind of like, you know, okay, I think these Bronies are respectful, and I think confidently can come forward and if it comes up, say like in a joke, like in Gen 4, for instance, there was a couple of episodes where there was a male pony, for instance, and then kind of like Rarity would used to go nuts for him if he was like a Prince Charming kind of type. And then obviously, if it was another character that maybe was not different, it would just come out in some sort of conversation there. Kind of like, I'm not really my type kind of feeling, that kind of gives you a little link, isn't it? But that's all you need. You don't need to go over the top, you don't need it to be stupid. There's so many shows and cartoons that get it wrong. Like you said, there's just like a lifeless fuss that just every bit of dialogue is, I'm gay, you know, I'm gay.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Same with vegans.
Yeah,
kind of
I mean, yeah, you know, we could...
I'm John, I'm vegan. They always introduce
themselves. Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, we could probably talk about that all day, but let's wrap things up. Yeah, let's wrap things up because we've been talking for quite a while. So let's wrap things up, and then we'll sort this video out and get it put up for people to watch.
I just want to say before we go off, I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that's watching this, because I know some, you know. But at the end of the day, these are our opinions, and I mean, like I said, I like diverse of characters, but it has to be done well, and that's all we're trying to say with that thing that was in the
Indeed, I get exactly what you mean. But let's just wrap things up here. Well, that's been a rather long conversation based off the article for obviously the upcoming My Little Pony film later this year, sometime between September and October, as we've discussed. I hope you've all enjoyed this little collaboration video. Big thank you to my good friend John. Thank you for agreeing to come and do this tonight. And
he took my cats away, and he said, if you don't do this video, I will keep the cat forever. So I have to do the cat.
Nah, he's kidding. I would never take his pussy cats away, man. It's they're safe and sound in his house somewhere. Yeah. Right, well, thank you very much, everybody, whoever's watched this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and no doubt we'll do another one of these sometime in the distant future, probably. Take care, everyone.
See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye bye.